the reason that this is a blunder is because now I'm attacking his bishop, but also this bishop is pinned because my rook will just take his queen if he moves his bishop. So if he moves his bishop, let's say here, then I just take the queen and it's game over. Hello and welcome back to the Chess Mindset. In this video, I'm going to be showing you a game that I played that features the Caro Kann defense. And I'm going to be sort of explaining my thought process and also analyzing the game. Now this game, I got an accuracy of 91, which was pretty good. And you can see the estimated game rating is 2050. So that's a pretty good game. But I'm basically going to analyze the moves that I made in this game and also how I would probably have played differently if it wasn't for the moves that I made in this game. Now this video will be more for beginners who are around 1000 elo and who want to sort of get an idea of how to play the Caro Kann defense and also like the moves and also the strategy that comes behind this opening. So let's get started. And in this game, basically, so this is a blitz game, so it's pretty, like, it's not going to be that accurate, but we'll see how it goes. So start us with e4, c6, which is the Caro Kann, and our opponent plays knight to f3. Now, a lot of moves, like, in the Caro Kann are basically, like, predetermined. Like, for example, in the second move, no matter what they play, you're probably just going to play d5 anyway. So even if they play like knight here, knight f3, you're still going to play d5. And even something like this, I think you can still play d5 here as well. But anyway, in the game, they play knight f3, I play d5, and we exchange pawns, and then our opponent goes d4. So in the Caro Kann defense, sort of what you want to do in the exchange variation is you want to bring your bishop out to g4. And the reason that this is a good strategy is because you sort of pin this knight to the queen, so now they can't actually take this pawn. So in the next moves, if let's say for example I develop my other knight to c6, then I'm going to start putting pressure on this d4 pawn and they can't actually take it because the knight is pinned. So that's sort of like the general idea when it comes to the exchange variation of the Caro Kann. Now my opponent here plays g3, which I don't really understand, although the analysis gives it a tick, which is like an okay move, I guess. And the reason I don't really like this move is because it sort of weakens this square. I guess they want to fianchetto the bishop, but I wouldn't personally play this move. Okay, so now I go knight to c6, aiming to just, you know, try to put pressure on this pawn. And now I can't actually take this pawn because notice that the knight isn't pinned anymore, so they can actually take it. And yeah, that would just be a blunder basically. And so I go g6, aiming to fianchetto my bishop. And there's also another strategy of the Caro Kann. You want to sort of fianchetto your dark squared bishop. And another option you can do is obviously play e6 to sort of lock your dark squared bishop outside of the pyramid. And then you can have this open diagonal for your dark squared bishop. But I play g6 to sort of fianchetto my dark squared bishop. So I bring my knight out first, and then I fianchetto, and then I'm just going to castle. So it's a very simple sort of strategy. Now here I played an in-between move, so I basically took the bishop because the knight was trying to come in, and basically this opened up this sort of vision, so now our bishops can actually see each other. So I took his bishop, and then I played this move knight to e4. Now this is a little bit of an inaccuracy, but the reason I played this move was because I thought that, okay, if we get the exchange, then I thought I would be a little bit better because the knight there was sort of putting a lot of pressure on my king side, like maybe some queen here ideas trying to like checkmate me. But yeah, the reason I played this was I just wanted to get rid of this knight, because after this exchange I thought maybe I can then castle and I would be doing pretty well. But apparently that's an inaccuracy. I should have played queen to d7, and this, I guess this move, I'm trying to like put pressure here, or maybe potentially go to queen h3 if the knight ever moves. So let's say something like this, then maybe queen h3 to sort of like keep an eye on this, like this area, so that he can't castle. But anyway, I go with knight to e4, and our opponent doesn't take the knight. They go to knight d2, and then I take the knight. So basically I did the exchange myself. Our opponent didn't make the exchange. And now this bishop is not that good, I would say, because I can also play f6 to kick it away. And so yeah, the knight was probably better on this square rather than the bishop, but now I just castle. Okay, always good to castle. And this pawn is actually kind of under pressure right now because of the bishop and queen, but I do have the queen and the knight defending it, so right now it's not a problem. So our opponent castles, logical move. And I guess now the plan is to sort of just maybe kick away the bishop and sort of build the center, so slowly and gradually. Now I do want this dark square bishop to sort of get in the game as well, so potentially if this bishop ever moves out of the way, like let's say something like this, maybe I can go bishop here to sort of put long-term pressure on this diagonal. But in the game I played queen to d7 because I wanted to bring my rook in, right? Because this pawn was kind of weak, so if I put my rook here, then at least I can, you know, sort of alleviate some pressure on this pawn. So our opponent puts a rook behind the queen, logical move. They're trying to, you know, put more pressure on the pawn. And now I play rook to e8, right? Just supporting this pawn, nothing fancy. And knight to b3 comes with a pretty clear idea. It's just to go to knight to c5 and put more pressure on my queen. So let's say I make a random move like a6, then probably knight to c5 would be a pretty good move because it just puts pressure on the queen. And then I have to retreat, and now I'm under all sorts of pressure on the queen side. But that's why I prevented it with the move b6 to sort of prevent the knight from ever jumping in. And now my opponent goes queen to f3. So queen to f3, I'm not really sure what the point of that is. I guess he wants to put pressure on this pawn. So let's say if I move my queen somewhere like here, then they'll just take my pawn, I'm guessing. But I don't think this is too much of a problem. And so I play the move e6 to support this pawn. And this is a bit of an inaccuracy, and apparently the best move was h6 to sort of kick away the bishop. And after the bishop goes here, then we kick it away even more. So yeah, so then the bishop goes all the way here, and I'm guessing we have a pretty good position because we can always like support the center, and then also like put more pressure on this file basically, now that the bishop's out of the way. But anyway, I just go e6 straight away because I thought, why not just support this pawn just in case anything happens, you never know. And now our opponent goes rook up to e2, and I'm guessing he wants to double up his rooks, so that's pretty standard. And now I kick away his bishop with f6. And actually I played this move because I thought that, okay, if he takes, then I can just take back with the pawn. And actually this is where he makes a blunder. So he takes this pawn with his d pawn, and this is a blunder because, well, if I take, which is what I did, and then he resigned the game, the reason that this is a blunder is because now I'm attacking his bishop, but also this bishop is pinned because my rook will just take his queen if he moves his bishop. So if he moves his bishop, let's say here, then I just take the queen and it's game over. And also if he doesn't move it, let's just say he plays, I don't know, here to try to get his queen out of the way, then I just take his bishop and I'm up a piece basically. So this was a blunder, of course. What he should have done was play bishop back here, and now if I take, I'm guessing just take like this and the game goes on. But yeah, after that I would have played e4 to attack his queen, and then after queen here, I probably would have played f5 to sort of build this pyramid of pawns, and yeah, that's the best move. And this will basically be a pretty good game by me. Like you can see the advantage I have, it's -1 right now, so it's pretty good. But yeah, the crucial mistake here that he made basically cost him the game. But yeah, so that was my game against this 1300 player that I got 91 accuracy on. And the main lesson here, I guess, is when you play the Caro Kann, you want to sort of understand what the plan is. So in this exchange variation where of course we exchange the center pawns, like I want to put pressure on this knight with this bishop to g4 move. And after that, of course, just develop the rest of my knights and then fianchetto my bishop and then castle. So that's basically the plan of the exchange variation. And of course you'll like face unexpected moves. Like for example, this g3 move that I didn't really expect. Like I just expected something normal, like probably knight here or even like bishop here to just protect it. But regardless, we just follow through with our plan of fianchettoing the bishop, and then after some trades we just, you know, castle, and we just play simple chess, right? The Caro Kann is like very solid for like beginners and also intermediate players because it gives you that solid pawn structure that you can see, right? Like all of these pawns here are pretty solid, and in fact the best move, like after a few moves here, was literally just to build this pawn pyramid where you basically have like an unbreakable structure basically. So yeah, I hope this video sort of gave you a intuition on how to play the Caro Kann, especially the exchange variation, where we basically put our bishop on g4 and we make this like plan where we fianchetto our bishop and then we just castle. So if you found this video instructive, then be sure to like and subscribe, and you can also join my chess community that's linked in the description below. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.